Well, Sherry, I'm so glad for our conversation today, for the community to get to meet you and to kind of get to hear what you do, but really to learn from you, as a lot of us in the community, we're at different stages of building a business, and to kind of understand, as we build businesses, we need help, and how do we find the right help at the right time in those different stages. So before we dive into some of that, will you share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So my name is Sherry Murtaza. I am a director of business development at EasyTeams, which is a virtual assistant service. And we're a California registered company. I've been in the industry for a good 9 years now in total. I've been running this company for 2 years. And prior to that, I've been an operations manager into different offshore projects, as well as being a virtual assistant myself in the beginning of my career. So I've seen both ends of the road.
That's awesome. No, yeah. And as the world continues, virtual becomes more and more accessible. It's a really powerful tool in building our businesses, but sometimes it can be one that's a little hard to navigate, especially I think for a first time. But even as people kind of say, "Oh, I had someone who did this thing, but can someone do this other thing?" And maybe sometimes as we get into it, I wonder, I think sometimes I even went in our conversation, I realized there were things that's like, "Oh, I didn't know a VA could do that." And
Yeah.
and so I'm excited to kind of maybe open wider what's possible for a lot of our community members as we jump in. So, but
Absolutely. It's
yeah.
funny, David. Most people
Mhm.
don't realize how much help they can actually get out of virtual assistant until they start talking about it. I
Yeah.
mean, there are too many unnecessary tasks on our plate that are not necessary for our presence to be in it or for us to do, like
Right.
admin work or follow-up calls, something that is just tedious day-to-day task, important, but not for us to do necessarily. So if
Right.
we have enough tasks, those can be delegated. And we don't really take out the time in our day-to-day to think about those that we can offload from our plate.
Yeah. No, I think so. Yeah, we just kind of think, hey, I got to get it all done, and
Yeah.
we're not
Prioritizing.
evaluating that, and yeah, and prioritizing, kind of triaging, go, oh wait, I'm the
Yeah.
only one who can do this, and a lot of times we think there's a lot more in that bucket than there actually is, you know.
Yeah.
But well, cool. Well, let's kind of jump into our different stages in the framework and kind of see, okay, how does this play out? What does this look like in each stage? All right, well, let's talk about this saturation stage, which is the last of our sequential stages. So this is when we've reached that state of market dominance. And that doesn't mean that we're like, the biggest of something in the world. That dominance could be particularly industry specific or even geographically specific. But we've reached a level of market saturation that we're like, okay, cool, we're at the top of whatever that scope
Mhm.
is. We're owning that community. We're in some ways, there's a lot more PR, there's a lot more public relations kind of stuff going on. We're probably innovating. This is where, even though our company may be at saturation, there may be new products, new offerings that are kind of walking through all those earlier stages again, of discovery, of adoption, of sustainability and such. So we're continuing to try and protect, but also innovate and really steward what's been built. How does outsourcing and really sourcing talent kind of look at that saturation stage?
So at that point, your company is a research and development department
Hmm.
where R&D is happening every day. They're just their creative minds sitting, bouncing ideas off of each other on how they can come up with something new that
Hmm.
helps the company, sets them apart from the competition or takes them to the next step, something that becomes their next big hit.
Hmm.
Launch a new product or compete with the competitors, or maybe your marketing team can do better with your competition, right? So there is a lot of research and development that needs to be done. Now, R&D departments usually help your other departments do better
Hmm.
because they're continuously working on creating either new processes, creating more efficient, researching on more data and different things. They're helping other teams do better, or they're trying to be more creative for the company as well. But the basic step is they're like a support system helping other teams because you don't want to add more to each department's plate by saying, okay, you're doing what you're doing is great, but I want you to think of something more as well. No, what they're doing is exactly what they were hired for. Let them do what they're good at. Now hire someone new, get more creative minds in, make them sit all day and think about what new and other departments can do better and add
Hmm.
more to their plate then and be like, okay, now since you're doing this, how about you do it a little differently and it'd be more efficient, adds more
Hmm.
time to your day. Help them support your teams more at this stage.
Yeah.
But on the outsourcing part, again, do not limit yourself. You
Hmm.
would be surprised how many business owners limit themselves and their teams to just one geographical location,
Right.
or just be it, just on-site working,
Hmm.
or not being open to Zoom or technology on how easier this is making life, right? And at every stage, I feel from a small business owner, a solopreneur, to a big size company, there is room for virtual assistants. All of your departments can use virtual assistant help, right?
Right.
Your teams can be remote, your teams can be bigger, better minds on your team, more creative minds, motivated minds. At this stage, you as much motivation of your employees is a challenge to you, your growth isn't as big of a challenge as that, right? So
Hmm.
you need a motivated team around you. Now, imagine a person sitting in, I'm going to give Pakistan as an example because that's where my offshore team is based. And I have more stats from this area than at
Okay.
any other country of in offshoring, but there are plenty of other countries for offshoring as well. Let's say in Pakistan, you're giving someone data entry work to do.
Hmm.
That person probably would have a bachelor's degree in a specific domain, would be, a university graduate or something, a master's degree even, but they would be so excited to do data entry work for you because of the exposure, that's all the things that they're learning from you because you're in another market for them.
Right.
And it's giving them an opportunity to explore this new market for them. But if you're
Mm.
going to hire someone local to do those tasks, those are going to be some very basic tasks for them. They're not going to
Right.
be as excited to do those tasks for you. Okay. So
That's
you need
interesting.
to
Yeah.
really look at the bigger picture then now.
Mhm.
You need to see what you're doing. Now, I'm going to give you an example of a pre-construction firm that I have worked with personally in the Bay Area. Now, my client played it very smartly. He took up his business, I think, 200% in 1 year.
Wow.
Wow. So what he did was he had different departments, design team, estimation team, project coordination, accounting team, marketing team. Okay. Before that, he had about 40, 50 people in-house working for him all the time. He was dealing with custom homes and,
Okay.
they're high ticket items. What he started doing is he started hiring from us where he was getting more minds on each team. I'll give you an example. His design team had some, um, CAD designers and some people from, my team, like locally from Pakistan. There were graduates in architecture. They had all the right degrees. It's just they did not have the same licensing as the local team working there, right?
Right.
So their team would ask them to get creative and give them ideas on what they think. This is what the client described.
Hmm.
Now, go nuts. Bring us some ideas. Tell us what you envision it as. And then they would sort of create like a mood board for design team, right? Their existing in-house design team and their offshore team and have like a big meeting where they would discuss, okay, so the client presented us with this idea. They wanted this. Okay, why did you think we needed to add the structure here? Or why did you think this design or these colors would be great, right? Give us your thought process on it. What
Hmm.
started happening from it is the client started seeing how much thought and effort the company is putting into each product.
Hmm.
Now, their in-house team is not getting burdened by too much work as well. They're not exhausting themselves, but they're delivering great work because there are too many minds working on it and it's costing them not even a quarter of a salary that they would be paying locally. I'm not saying shift all your local jobs to offshore companies, just get more brains in, get
Hmm.
more creative people into your team,
Yeah,
and
the
that helps.
ROI is a lot higher. And it's like you said, I like how you're calling that out. It doesn't have to be replacing entirely, but it's
It's
like, okay, how do
building
we add
help
in and enhance?
enhance.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that a lot. That makes sense. And that's important in that saturation stage because You're continuing
Yeah.
to try and you're going to differentiate in some ways, and a lot of that is going to be on innovation and quality. And so, like you were describing in that example, bringing in people with a higher level of expertise than would typically be doing that job maybe locally,
Yeah.
you're actually being able to enhance the capacity and the capability of your teams to be able to deliver. So I like
Mm.
that a lot. That's a helpful perspective there.
Mm. So it definitely helps you to scale up very quickly. And it
Hmm.
doesn't really have to be like 10 people on a team, like I said. It could be two people on your team. But give them that
Hmm.
extra support that they need. Don't
Hmm.
burn out your existing employees. Make sure that they have all the help they need and they can get. And if it's not costing you too much to the company, I mean, if it's not even the quarter of what you'd be paying for that kind of help,
Hmm.
it doesn't really hurt you to give your employees the help they need.
Yeah, that
It's
makes a
like a
lot.
benefit for them, right?
Yeah. And that's a good helpful insight probably along any of the stages is to really help frame that for your employees. It's like, no, this makes all of us better together. This isn't
Yeah.
like trying to just replace you with some
Mhm.
other options. I think that's really helpful. Well, as we kind of wrap up, Sherry, are there any other just things you'd want to say to founders, um, just to really kind of whether it's to yeah, to just guide, to inform, to encourage as they're thinking about how do they manage talent, how do they outsource, how do they offshore, how do they figure out, one of the things we talked about a number of times was how do they determine the value of their time? Like anything you kind of want to close with as we're talking to founders here.
Okay, so even if you've just started thinking about starting a company, or if it's been a couple of years in, or if you've reached the sustainability stage or the scalability stage, any stage you're at, do network a lot,
Mm-hmm.
not just to grow your business, but also to you never know who you're going to run into, and they're going to say share an experience with you that is going to resonate with you and
Hmm.
help you grow or do things better.
Yeah.
So do talk and network with other business owners around you, one. And don't give up on your dream just because it gets overwhelming or if it feels like it's too much on the plate right now. Not
Hmm.
every day is going to be the same. It's going to be like 200% stressful on one day, and then the next day maybe is 1,000% stressful. Well, that's what we signed up for.
Yeah.
That's what we
No, that's
chose.
a good reminder.
So, yeah, and just give yourself a breathing time in between. Ask for help from
Mm-hmm.
people. There's no shame in asking for help if you're someone who's new to starting their business, or if you've been in the business for quite some years, so there's no harm in asking for help. Ask for help from around business coaches, life coaches, therapists, anyone that you need. If you need a power group, power partners, anyone that you feel you can comfortably talk to those people. You'll
Yeah.
find a solution.
No, I appreciate that's a great exhortation, Sherry. And it really complements well with what we've been talking about of you're really it's again it's like okay, if I have this dream, who's going with me? Because we especially I feel like here in the West we have this kind of like Lone Ranger version of the founder that's like I know how to do
Yeah,
all the things and I'm gonna bootstrap and figure it all
yeah,
out and whatever method. But really, no, it's always a team, even when it
yeah.
looks like one person out front, it's a team. And so I
It's a team.
appreciate, even as we've talked about more on the internal, like, how do I offshore these tasks? But I love how you frame that in. It's like, hey, you also have a community that you're walking in this with, people who are speaking into that, people who
Yeah,
are encouraging, keeping you accountable, providing guidance. That
absolutely.
really, that when we think about team, it's a much bigger circle that we're drawing. Um,
Yeah.
so,
And we humans, I feel, are always a work in progress. If any one of us thinks that we're completed, we've learned it all, we're fooling ourselves. We're
right.
constantly learning something new, and
Mhm.
the more we stay humble about it, the better for us, because then we'll actually reach out to people around us or try learning a thing or two, pick a thing or two
Mhm.
from others around us. Doesn't matter if we're 20 or 60, we're constantly learning something every day. So we need to be just open to it and embrace change.
I love that. Yeah, no, that's really good. Well, Thank you so much for sharing with the community. I really enjoyed getting to know you also and getting to learn more about. I remember our first conversation, it kind of blew my mind on how much was possible to offshore and even, how early in the journey it's like, oh, I guess I don't have to wait. I think that's often a pitfall that I know myself, but I see other founders as we coach founders like fall into is like, oh, I need to wait till here to start doing that. And just so, yeah, I think that's been fun that I've learned from you is just both how accessible it can be, but also like, yeah, there's so many more things, more ways that I can find the help I need than I realized. So I appreciate you sharing today, sharing that with our community. I'm excited to see how that helps them build new things that makes the world better. So thanks a ton.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David.